What's up, guys? Welcome to Diggity, a video game podcast, episode number 252. I'm Jeff James. With me tonight, as always, the luscious Brody Faults. How are you?
I'm okay. I pulled
okay.
something. Yeah, no, I pulled something in my leg, like in my calf, up to my hamstring somewhere in that ballpark.
Oh, fuck.
And so I've been limping around like I'm 200 years old all day.
Yeah.
wasn't really feeling it, and my kid's baseball keeps getting canceled because of all this damn rain we keep getting.
I know.
But other than
next
that,
week
I'm pretty
looks
good.
weather-wise.
It looks good.
I mean, next
we were
week
supposed
is
to have
80s.
Yeah, we had a game canceled on Saturday, and we had a game canceled on Tuesday, and then we were supposed to have a makeup game today, and that got canceled as well. So we're doing great out here. It's a little moist.
Oh, God. Ugh. God, I hate that word. Speaking of injuries,
How are you?
I kind of got like a little injured too after today.
Yeah?
I went to the gym and I did like this whole like circuit and I had boxing in it. And I don't know what happened, but like from time to time I'll like move my right arm like a little bit and then I'll get like a little sharp pain underneath here.
Oh yeah, hey, yeah.
Like I pinched something. I don't know.
Like right back, right in here.
No.
No?
Like
Okay.
Like in here.
Almost in your armpit, huh?
Almost in my armpit, yeah. I
space
googled it.
between
It
the
says it's
bicep and the
cancer,
tricep.
but you know. It's kind of how that goes.
Cancer, you have a week to live. Sorry, that's what the internet ruled.
Legitimately, yeah. No, other than that, I'm doing okay. I mean, just been busy, and like you said, the weather's been absolute shit.
It has.
Like, it's just been awful.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to mow my yard that got way out of control on Monday because I couldn't mow. I was busy all weekend, and then when I wasn't busy, there was rain, and
you want to talk
I looked like the hillbilly in the neighborhood that has their grass way too tall.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Grass?
I had a clover infestation take over my backyard.
Oh, man.
From the neighbors. Neighbors, sweet people, love them, but they are the enemy right now. I go into my backyard, dude, and like, so because it had been so wet, I just like didn't. The front yard is like almost perfect now. It's getting there. The backyard I've left for a while because I just like it's just tougher clay back there, and I was like, this is the front of my fucking house. Like that's what I'm gonna focus on first and get that nailed down.
Mm-hmm.
So I've left most of the backyard so far into this spring, and I could see like a little bit of clover like on the edge because you know how like my backyard just like goes into like this massive like hill.
Mm-hmm.
And
I just picture you walking out your back, out on your back deck, standing there with full dad pose,
dude,
New Balances on, looking out, and you're like, "What the fuck is that?"
Janelle should have
runs over to the clover.
Dude, you have no idea. Janelle was like doing like dishes or whatever, and she like looks out the kitchen window, and I swear to God, like looking back on it 100%, but it was way worse than this. So like I couldn't see past the hill when it went down. So I'm on the deck. I see like a little fucking leaf, and I'm like, I went, what the fuck is that? And I start walking. The whole fucking side of the hill is clover.
No.
I literally put my hands on my head like this, and I went, God damn
no!
it.
God, no!
I immediately went to the garage, grabbed the spray, man. Just started spraying shit. Sprayed the whole backyard. Got that shit sprayed. Looked out this morning. I saw that some of the clover was wilting. I'm like, yeah, motherfuckers. So now my goal is I'll be out there. I'm going to go mow it, and then I'm going to have to fucking spray it again probably. Because like I'm telling you, like the whole shit. It's like a scene from The Hobbit. Like there was clover across the whole hill. It was horrendous. And then I was spraying it, right? Like one of the things that you hook the hose up to. Mm-hmm. And I almost stepped in just, I don't even know of what creature produced this, bro. But it was like this coagulated like shit. And it was like the size of my fucking fist. And it was in my side yard of my house. And there was like a big dollop of this coagulated shit. And then like little shit plops behind it. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Come find out it's a goose that's running loose in my fucking side yard. They've got a nest
got a goose on the loose?
Yeah, they've got a nest on the berm, and my fucking Wise cam on my backyard keeps fucking going off with this stupid ass neck of this goose coming across my fucking backyard. And it just like it ate something weird, and it just like this is, you look at it and you're like, okay, whatever produces is either close to death or it died right here and its carcass was picked up by something else. Like the way that this shit looks. Awful. But other than that, I'm doing great.
Good.
It's all good. Just got the suburbia warfare, of clover. Gonna get it done. Got dandelions coming in too, from the encroaching on my area from the neighbor's yard too. Love them, but I kind of sprayed into their yard. I sprayed the weeds in their yard, so it wouldn't go into mine as much. Oh fuck! Desperate times, my man. Anyways, what have you been playing? What have you been up to? What the hell have you been doing?
So I have been playing. Man, I have not played a whole lot this week. Not gonna lie.
Okay.
I played a little bit more Tiny Tina's. That's what I've spent most of my time, my gameplay time on. Was trying to get through some of that. Had a wedding this weekend, so again, very limited on everything going on. And then tonight, I got to check out that Trek to Yomi, which is that new game from Devolver Digital, or published by Devolver Digital. It's like a black and white kind of samurai-esque game, and so far it's all right. The combat is very simple, and honestly, the first time you really get into combat, I got my ass kicked there for a minute until I kind of just figured out a way to kind of cheese it, because if you don't, it's hard to find like the right windows to actually get in there and hit. Well, then once you get the hang of it, now the game's basically on easy mode, and it's super easy. There's nothing really hard about it. The enemies are all pretty predictable for the most part. Granted, I'm not very far into it, and I think it's I looked it up. It was like a 4 to 6 hours to beat the game. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, it's definitely, I really, really dig the art style. The camera is one of those weird things where it like goes like, you're running towards the camera, and then all of a sudden it'll shift to like, now you're side scrolling, and now you're running away from the camera, or like at an angle, and like it does these really weird shifts. Well, when it does that, it's kind of disorienting. It's cool. It looks really cool visually, but it is very disorienting from the perspective of like you're just trying to keep constant movement, and the combat also feels pretty stilted. It's just very stiff. Something about it just does not feel. I'm not sure how to describe it. Right, like when you're watching the trailer for it, they show him fighting, and it looks very kind of fluid, and this really cool, like he stabs one guy and turns right around and like stabs the other, and then gets behind the other guy and like stabs him in the back or whatever. Yeah, that doesn't really happen when you're actually playing the game. Granted, I could just suck at it, I guess, but it just doesn't have that nice
flow,
streamlined feel to it that I was really hoping for from this, because
it doesn't flow like that. It doesn't flow natural like that.
It doesn't seem to.
So it doesn't make you feel like a fucking superhero.
Not really. Which is what I wanted from this game. Yeah. I wanted this game to make you feel like crazy overpowered.
That's
or
what
just
I thought it was. Like that from all the marketing and stuff like that. I thought it was like just like interesting fight mechanics that basically like kind of like Spider-Man. Right? Like you start fighting Spider-Man, and like you honestly, when you look at it, you're really not doing much but clicking a button repeatedly. Or some buttons, but it feels like you're all over the place.
Yeah, no, I was really hoping this was going to be more in the vein of like Katana Zero, almost. I guess not quite, but in that same realm where you are crazy overpowered and like you can take people out in one shot or whatever it may be. And I was hoping that the way they kind of balanced enemies was just a lot of them. And if you get like a powerful hit on certain enemies, you can take them out in one shot. Some of the lighter hits, it'll take a couple, but yeah, like some of the real stupid like grunts you can lure towards you and just lunge at them with a powerful attack and take them out in one hit, and then they're done. And then like they have various different enemies, and you run into like little bosses almost. Which those fights are actually kind of cool, though they're a lot less predictable and definitely a little bit more difficult. But honestly, you could go toe to toe and just keep swinging at them, and they'll keep swinging at you, and you could take them out before your life's out, right? Like even with them hitting you constantly as well.
It's wild.
It's weird. I dig the art style. Like the art style is just really, really cool, and I think they've done a lot of good stuff there. I just don't think I don't even think it's like unfinished, right? I don't think this is something they would have gotten down. I just think it was something they really struggled with, or something that was a little bit more backseat to more the story and the art style and everything. I don't think it would have gotten necessarily better, but and it's not awful, right? Like it's definitely playable. I played it for probably, I don't know, maybe an hour today. Mm-hmm. But it's on Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, it's definitely worth checking it out. If you don't have Game Pass, I think it's still like, I don't know, it's $15-$20 somewhere in that ballpark. It's still a cool game. If you were interested in it, it does what it set out to do fairly well. It's just know that the combat is a little stiff. And I read a bunch of reviews on it and watched some videos and things too, and a lot of people were kind of in the same ballpark that the combat just wasn't exactly where we were hoping it would be. And then the last thing that I want to say I played, but I didn't actually get to play it because it wouldn't load properly, was what was it? Loot River. That is this. I saw it in a video a while back when it was in this like early demo beta stage, and this guy was going through Steam and playing like Dark Soul-esque games. This is not really that. It's like a isometric type view, and you're moving platforms around as you are also doing combat and stuff. It's actually kind of neat how it all works. And a lot of people have said that basically the movement of the platforms feels really good, but the actual combat is just boring and not very fun. So I was trying to load that through the Xbox app on Windows, and it would not actually load up properly.
No way.
So I'm not. Yeah, the Xbox app on Windows is not great. But it's. I want to give it a go. I've heard pretty middling things about it since it actually came out, as far as reviews and everything. But I'll still give it a go. I like trying out some of these smaller indie games. I'll probably finish up Trek to Yomi, just because I'm already into it at this point. But the other thing about Trek to Yomi, it was a little stuttery on my PC, which my PC's not terrible anymore. Like it's actually a relatively probably mid to maybe upper mid range. I have a 2060 in it, so it should be able to handle this just fine. And it was stuttering a little bit. I have not tried it on Xbox to see if it stutters on Xbox as well. But I would imagine it's just more so the PC port. But that's really about it for me. How about you?
Man, I played a melody of weird genre stuff, but I played NHL 22, of course. It's playoff mode, baby. So my Maple Leafs are doing their thing. They lost last night, but that's okay. That's okay. You're going to win Friday against Tampa Bay, and they'll be up 2-1 in the series. So play a little bit of that. Ended up playing some FIFA 22. I think I played FIFA once before this, and the reason why I played it is because it came with it was this month's PlayStation Plus game, one of them. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll download that, and I checked it out. And I don't mind it. You know, I have a good time with it. I'm just not like all those EA games, right? Like Madden, NHL, and FIFA. They all have the Ultimate Team. And NHL is the only one that's made me really want to get into the Ultimate Team side of stuff, only because I watch NHL a lot, which I'm sure would help. But I also watch a lot of football, and I just never really wanted to get into Madden Ultimate Team. By the way, I think it's still on sale, but Madden 22 is only like $10. So if you want to get the latest Madden and you skipped out a couple years like I have in the past, I'm not going to get this one because I have to wait another year because I'm going to go every other year. Then go pick that up. But I had fun with it. I mean, like there's parts of it. It's not like the cutscenes and stuff like that are great looking, and the character customization's cool. That's neat. The actual in-game, it's not as impressive as you would think.
Really?
Like on the pitch, yeah. Like the pitch looks good. Some of the stadiums look pretty good. But like, it's just I don't know. I don't like. There's nothing of that that's like groundbreaking for me. Where I'm like, man, this is next gen FIFA. Like I've definitely kept up with FIFA and I've watched people play FIFA online a lot. But you know, I don't know what I was thinking would be different from like the year before or from even like the PS4 side of stuff. Because if you think about it, like it's a real zoomed out view. Like the players are tiny, right? Like in the actual gameplay. Yeah. So there's, aside from like the grass and like the cutscenes and stuff like that and the celebrations, like what else can you do at this point? You can work on lighting, you can work on some certain textures for the stadium and I guess the fans. But yeah, there's some shaky stuff there. But I still enjoyed it. I still had a good time with it. Then I played some City Skylines for a little bit, not much. And then I played a tiny bit of Overwatch. I want to get into the beta, but I want to wait for console. I don't have it on PC. I just play it on console. Yeah. So I'm going to wait for that. I'm assuming that's going to be in a couple of weeks. But we'll see. We shall see. I'm kind of hoping selfishly also that they kind of announce Overwatch 2 stuff, like more stuff. Give some more details onto it.
Maybe Jeff Keighley will bring it to you at the Summer Games Fest.
Yeah, maybe that might be a good way for them to do it. Like what we've talked about, Microsoft, we don't think will really speak on that because it's not closed yet. So they really can't. They could present themselves, but it'd be kind of weird. Yeah. You know,
it could still be there, right? Like it could be at that Xbox.
It'd be event. A really weird vibe, though.
It would be. But I also think that's probably better to do it there than the Summer Games Fest. I mean, because it's not. So. It wouldn't be the first time that Xbox has announced like a third party or Sony has announced a third party game. So I don't think it'd be all that weird. I think just given the circumstances of everything, it would be a little different.
Yeah. Speaking of that, do you want to start off with this news now?
Yeah. Okay, so sure. we've got a couple small things, and then we've got the big thing at the end. Switched up the script a little bit this time. So, first off, we have the Summer Games Fest. It officially has a date and time. So, this came from the Summer Games Fest Twitter account. It's official. Summer Games Fest will have a big live showcase event on Thursday, June 9th, streaming live everywhere at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and 6 p.m. GMT. Because who cares about GMT? But anyway, yeah, this is cool. We're about a month away from it, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, it'll come up quick.
It's kind of weird that they waited up until right now to do that, but I guess that's a kind of in line with what Xbox announced too, the Xbox Bethesda thing. So it's not too terribly far out, but a month is going to be here in no time.
If I was Jeff Keighley, which I'm about halfway there, I would wait as well, because just the news of the E3, I would have been worried about announcing something and then like Sony announces something or whatever, right? So I think he also has a lot of moles that he can talk to.
This is also true.
A lot of fucking moles.
It is kind of weird that they are as close to the Xbox Bethesda event as they are.
What the fuck?
You good?
Well, my watch just went off for SIRI, and I said Jeff Keighley, and it came up as Allah.
Close enough.
On my watch.
Wow. He really is stepping it up, isn't he?
Wow, Jeff Keighley.
I think it's odd that they shoved it as close as they did, because normally Summer Games Fest kind of stays away from all the E3 stuff a little bit, not entirely, but I also am not too surprised given that E3 is not actually a thing this year and it's just the Xbox Bethesda show. So it makes sense to kind of keep the vibe of what E3 is alive, but without it really like completely overpacking that time period.
So I'm confused too on this. This is simply just a show, correct?
Yes. It should just be one show.
Okay. I always get confused by this because it's called Summer Games Fest, which would imply that it's over a course of a couple of days, hence a festival.
Uh-huh. I think they do some like smaller interview stuff beforehand, if I remember correctly. Like leading up to it, there's some videos that he puts out, but it's not actually like a fest. It's not a giant celebration or anything like that. It's just pretty much a keynote on that day at that time, and there's some other, I don't even want to call it festivities, but things leading up to it. Festivus.
Oh my gosh, let's call it Summer Games Festivus. For the rest of us.
There you go. So that's cool. I'm excited to see what he has. I think this year he'll actually have a pretty good show. We've seen this kind of grow.
We'll see some big ass announcement probably.
Oh yeah, and we've seen this specific event grow quite a bit over the last couple of years, similar to how the Game Awards did, where each year it got the actual production value went up, and their announcements just kept getting larger and larger. So I think last year was pretty meh, but I think this year we'll actually have some pretty good shit here, especially with.
I'm just pissed at the timing. Why the fuck on a Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern?
I have no clue. So we'll be doing it, but we'll be doing it that night. We will be
watching it, but we will be doing.
Well, there probably won't be a Diggity episode that week.
No,
we'll figure that out.
We'll find it. We'll figure something out. We'll be definitely doing a reaction to it for sure on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So go to Spawn Camp. You can check us out there for that when that comes up. But yeah. And then what is Microsoft one's after this, right?
Yeah, that's Sunday.
Okay.
Yep. So the other smaller piece of news that we have here is Xbox now offers Fortnite through the xCloud, entirely free.
Sneaky.
And the impressive thing about this and why this actually makes news is this is a workaround to be able to play Fortnite on your phone, on your iPhone or iPad, which Apple notoriously has had this ongoing battle with Epic about. So yeah, Xbox kind of snuck this in there. You don't have to be subscribed to Game Pass for it. You just get to play Fortnite for free through their service, and it gets more people trying their service. And honestly, this is fucking genius. And I'm wondering how long it's going to be before Apple retaliates.
They really can't retaliate because it's browser.
It's through Chrome, yeah.
It's not device. Yeah, I mean, even if it's bought on Safari, you just download Chrome and use it, right? I honest to God forgot it wasn't on iPhone for when this came out. I went, oh wow, and then I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah. Right.
I'll just play it on my PS5. I don't know. I can't. I know that there's a lot of people now that are down to play on their phone, and I get it. Mm-hmm. And I get that there's also tools like the Razer Kishi like you have, but I'm just not fucking about it, dude. Unless if it's point and click, I'm down. Other than that, not down on my phone. Just something about it.
My experience with the xCloud stuff so far has been meh. It's not terrible, don't get me wrong, but especially if I'm playing upstairs, because I have it's not a repeater, but I have an extender, it's a mesh network tied in with my router, right? So it kind of doesn't have consistent enough connection at times, and I will actually run into issues where xCloud wants to disconnect, and I've never had that issue with anything else. It has only been through xCloud. So I think it requires a strong internet connection to work properly. And I've been able to play things like I played Hades on it. It's not my favorite way to play Hades by any means, but it's playable. I've played Forza Horizon 5 on it, and that actually worked fairly well. I think from what I was reading so far, there were some people that had tried this, and they said it actually worked extremely well and ran better than most things through xCloud, surprisingly enough.
Because Epic helped with the fucking code.
Yeah. But up to this point, I had pretty much just played. If I am playing something on my phone through xCloud, it is typically, like you said, a point and click. Nothing that requires precise, precise aim or any sort of lag would throw you off. So I'm not going to be doing like really heavy platformers. I'm not going to be doing shooters or anything like that typically. But from what I'm hearing, this actually runs very well.
It's amazing what we can run through shit now. It's just wild. Even like 3 years back, it's stupid where we've come. Cool. So yeah, I mean, if you're an Apple user and you've been yearning to play something like this, go ahead and get on your iPad and go to Xbox.play or something like that.
I believe so.
I think something like that. And you can go play it for free. It's great. It's Microsoft slapping Apple in the face. Epic. It's funny because Tim Sweeney doesn't really fucking like Microsoft either, but he's like taking one of the evils and combating it against his other hate, which is just kind of fucking funny to me, but it is what it is. Anyways, moving on to the meat and potatoes. So Embracer Group, this is the big news, is acquiring some of the Western divisions of Square Enix. So I'll just quickly read from the blog post by Embracer Group. It says, Embracer Group AB Embracer has entered into an agreement to acquire the development studios Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, Square Enix Montreal, and a catalog of IPs including Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain, and more than 50 back catalog games from Square Enix Holdings Company Limited, otherwise known as Square Enix Holdings. It's a trust. In total, the acquisition includes 1,100 employees across 3 studios and 8 global locations. The total purchase price amounts to $300 million on a cash and debt-free basis to be paid in full at closing. Embracer secured additional long-term debt funding commitments for this and other transactions in the pipeline. The company today reiterates its current operational EBIT forecast for fiscal year 21-22, fiscal year 22-23, and fiscal year 23-24. And the transaction is subject to various regulatory and other external approvals, as all of these are, and is expected to close during the second quarter of Embracer's financial year of 2022 to 2023, which is July to September 2022. So, that's cool, but what are they getting? Let's go over the deets of just some of the bigger stuff. So, Crystal Dynamics, which is most recently known for Rise of the Tomb Raider, Marvel's Avengers, and they're also working with the initiative on an upcoming Perfect Dark game and supposedly working on an untitled Tomb Raider game. We'll see what that changes to the Perfect Dark side of stuff, if anything. I doubt it. I think they want to still make tons of money. Eidos Montreal is most recently known for Deus Ex, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Then you have Square Enix Montreal, most recently known for a lot of the Go games, so Hitman Go, Lara Croft Go, Deus Ex Go, and it was working on a untitled Space Invaders mobile game currently. And then obviously Square Enix as well. So since the announcement of the acquisition, Square has confirmed they will be maintaining the IP for Just Cause, Outriders, and Life is Strange. Did Outriders really do like that well?
No. Actually, People Can Fly just came out not too long ago and said that they did not make their money back from it. But Square has also said in this same announcement where they said they're going to keep these IPs, they also said that they're planning on actually making more games in these series. So I don't even think Just Cause 4 did all that well.
No.
It was met with pretty middling
Life
reviews.
Life is Strange has done well, but how much can you milk that, right?
Apparently quite a bit, because they've been doing it for a while now.
Yeah.
Which, it's not my type of game, so take my opinion on that with a grain of salt, but...
and just for reference also, well, I know it's just for reference, and we have a list in our show notes here, but some of the stuff in here as well. There's a comics company called Gang Comics. There's Play Online. This includes the China division of Square Enix, the Taito Corporation, Hippos Lab, Tokyo RPG Factory, Luminous Productions, the London Mobile Studio, and the Image Studio division as well. So they're taking their tech. They're really taking everything. It's not. There's nothing left.
I mean, they have Square Enix America, Square Enix Europe, Square Enix China, and then obviously all of their Japanese development, which is typically, I mean, your Dragon Quest, your Final Fantasy, most of that stuff is going to be staying, which is what they're more known for anyway. It's basically their Western divisions, a good portion of them at least. I mean, Crystal Dynamics has been a pretty big part of them recently. Granted, Avengers was rough to say the least, and Rise of the Tomb Raider was good. A lot of people like these newer Tomb Raiders, like the Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. There's surprisingly, like, Deus Ex is one of those games that I hear people talk about all the time, but the sales numbers on it are pretty bad. They don't sell very much at all. And they're gorgeous games too. The last one was a very, very good looking game, especially for the time and the hardware limitations. But yeah, this is very bizarre, right? So they have more than 50 back catalog games that they're getting from it. They're getting quite a bit of IP, which they haven't really said what else is coming with it, other than obviously the big ones of Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain. I would be kind of surprised if they got. I don't know what their deal with Marvel was as far as for Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers, but I highly doubt that they're getting to take those deals with them. I imagine that stays within Square Enix. But $300 million for these three companies seems like an absolute steal.
It does, and that kept coming up on Twitter, which is pretty crazy. Some people were clashing back with it, saying, you know, what is Embracer Group anyways, which it isn't a crazy name, but or a household name, I'll say, I guess, or as much as, you know, some other large entities like Tencent and stuff like that. But Embracer Group is the parent company of
THQ is the big one,
yeah,
right? Like
THQ Nordic, yes,
right.
But it has about 850 plus owned and controlled franchises. So it has 10 operative groups, which is THQ Nordic, Koch Media, which is the Koch brothers, which, yeah, let's not get into that. Coffee Stain, Amplifier Game Invest, Saber Interactive, DECA Games, Gearbox Entertainment, Easy Brain, Asmodee, and Dark Horse. So they have 119 internal game development studios and is engaging more than 12,500 employees and contracted employees in more than 40 countries. It is a massive group.
Oh, it's huge. And a lot of what they've been putting out is stuff was like they did the Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, right? Like they've done a lot of some of these kind of older IPs or remakes and things, but they've also done, I mean, Gearbox is massive, right? Like that's a huge thing to have underneath of them, as well as, I mean, Koch Media does quite a bit as well. They have underneath them, they have Deep Silver is probably the big one there, but my God, they just have so much, and I don't think a lot of people understand like how massive Embracer actually is. Dark Horse Media is incredible too. Like Dark Horse Comics is such a huge thing that honestly, until the other day, I didn't even realize they actually owned as well. It's crazy how much is underneath them. But the big thing, if you say THQ Nordic, that is what more people would know them as, right? Rather than the new Embracer Group, which I don't remember when did they change their name. I'm looking.
What's kind of
2019.
crazy?
2019 was when they changed.
Randy Pitchford's on the board too.
Well, there's also that.
You know. But yeah, what's interesting about this is like we're getting. I've heard a lot of people on Twitter say, "Hey, we're getting real close to monopolization." Fuck that, we're already here. Like, yeah, Embracer Group was already there. Tencent already there. The only thing that's holding Tencent back right now is China and the fact that the Chinese government is kind of putting a stranglehold on them, which is crazy because the Chinese government created them in a lot of ways. Or sorry, they didn't create them. They had a large helping hand in propping Tencent up. But yeah. And then you've got Microsoft doing stuff. You've got Sony buying things. And working towards it, and like this is the same shit, right? It's we're going the way of FANG stocks, the big tech co's, right? Where it's like, okay, cool, we're just gonna keep buying whatever. The one thing I will say that's cool about Embracer Group, and it's worth definitely Googling and looking it up. I think there's some interviews online with the curator of it, but it's kind of cool. They're basically creating a video game archive. So there's like 50,000 pieces in their archive, and it's everything from like actual games to like board games to signage to marketing material, you name it. Just to preserve video games, which is kind of neat. But yeah, this does sound like a steal. But if you also take a look at it, collectively, there's definitely been a lot of hiccups over the years with games that Square Enix has released, to where like it's almost kind of randomized like success. Like in a way, like it's like, okay, game comes out, not good. Next game comes out, pretty good. Guardians comes out, smash hit, right? But like Avengers, just boom, just garbage, right? So I mean, there's definitely leverage for that, and then there's other shit, right? Like you peel back the layers there, and then you've got like Outriders and shit, and they're like, we don't fucking want that. Like, no thanks, whatever. And actually, I think. Doesn't THQ Nordic own Trials? No, that's Ubisoft, right?
That's Ubisoft.
That's Ubisoft. But anyways, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's worth that. I don't think it's a steal. I think it's worth that in the fact of the management. There could also be a lot of stuff behind the scenes we don't understand, like Square Enix's debt.
True.
Square Enix's operating capital. Numerous expenses,
and that kind of ties me into my next point.
Let's go.
Do you think Square Enix is trimming the fat so they can make themselves marketable to sale? I don't mean that in a negative tone, because I honestly have nothing against Crystal Dynamics or Eidos Montreal, because I think they're good studios. I think they're, especially, like, I love the shit out of Guardians of the Galaxy. So when I say trimming the fat, I just mean cutting some of their, especially their Western studios off, so now they are Japan focused, which at that point now it would lead me to, like, if they are trying to make themselves available to sale, I would assume that they're trying to be Japanese focused, which I would think they're going to be trying to lean into going the Sony route at that point. That's just speculation, but they also have a good relationship with them. But also, I think Crystal Dynamics, a lot of the problems with Avengers, I mean, the game wasn't very fun anyway, but on top of that, the microtransaction bullshit is what turned a lot of people away, and I think that came from higher up, right?
Just that, like, again, the studio has randomized hit.
This is true, and they've been around a lot longer than I realized as well.
Oh yeah, tons since
they've been around forever,
dude. Since Gex.
Before Gex.
Yeah, before Gex, but yeah. Okay, so what does Square Enix look like now then? After all this, like, what do they have in their arsenal?
Predominantly, I mean, you have it's mainly JRPGs, right? Like, that is the majority of what is left, given the subsidiaries that we talked about earlier. It's a lot of JRPGs, and that, I mean, granted, that's where they focus, right? They really excel with games such as Dragon Quest or even your Final Fantasies, of course. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another thing. Final Fantasy 16 is supposedly in the final stages of production, and we're supposed to see something this spring about it. So I don't know, right? JRPGs
it
tend
is
to
a fascinating point you make. They trim fat. I don't know if it's trimming fat. I think what it is it's dilution of the Western studios, so
focusing
that
on,
they can do a core focus to Sony.
Yeah, trimming the fat was probably the wrong term for what I wanted to get across there. But yeah, I just meant more so now they are focusing back on what they excel in. I mean, granted, they are keeping a few odds and end things where it is, they're holding on to Outriders for whatever reason, Just Cause and Life is Strange. And I think the reason those were mentioned is because everything else is pretty JRPG heavy. Whether it be in that Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, it is very much still a JRPG. They've done a lot of other things as well. I mean, like your Octopath Traveler and games of that nature. But I feel like they're focusing a little bit more, and they're kind of reining it in to where they're not so out there doing all sorts of wild shit. Like Marvel's Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy. Even then, though, like Guardians didn't sell as well as it could have because it was haunted by Marvel's Avengers, which sucked, and everybody was scared this was going to be the same thing over again, and thankfully it wasn't, but it wasn't until later that it finally caught up to where it needed to be. And so trimming the fat isn't exactly the right term for it, but I think it is more of a refocus and get back into where they are comfortable and where they excel at, and now they are something that is probably going to be more appealing to someone such as Sony, whereas because Sony, typically JRPGs sell better on PlayStation than they do on Xbox. And granted, Xbox has been trying to kind of bridge that gap a little bit and get those games, and that's why I could see them wanting to go after Square Enix. But the other thing about that too is so far we have not seen a lot of Japanese companies sell. Especially not to non-Japanese companies.
Correct, yes, exactly. Not to Western companies.
Exactly. So at that point, if Square was going to sell, I cannot see them going to Xbox. I can see them going to Sony, though, and they've also had that good partnership with Sony for years and years. So while this may be a small step of getting rid of some one of them's a mobile game company, right? So I don't know how well those typically sell those Go games. I've never tried
pretty
one.
Well. They did pretty hot. Yeah, they did pretty well. Just a heads up too. Crystal Dynamics in 1992 was when it was founded. Yeah, I think you're on the right track. I mean, I also think that if you look at what Embracer Group works with, Final Fantasy does not fit that mold. I think the recent acquisition stuff has been a lot more, can we refresh this? Can we make a sequel? And can it stand alone and be out there without a live service?
Right.
And just be out there. Or if it does have a live service, it's very minimal microtransactions like a skin or something like that. Because they own the Hot Wheels game. Racing game, I believe, as an example.
Did they do that?
Forget what company did that.
I'm looking it up right now.
But I think they own a piece of that or own it.
That was Milestone, published by Milestone.
See if it's owned by Embracer Group. If Milestone's owned by Embracer Group,
it is. I think it is actually under Koch Media.
Okay. So yes. So anyways, yeah, I think that definitely stands. But then the other side of me just thinks, like, what if they just want to get back to their basics? Like, here you go, you acquire these teams, you've built stuff, and then you can sell it off for $300 million. What can you go get now?
Right.
In Japan, right? And keep building upon stuff. But yeah, I mean, or like, the other thing could be $300 million, and then, man, I mean, I guarantee you, it'd be more than $300 million for Sony to buy Square. Now.
Oh, yeah, by
with
quite
what's
a bit.
Even left, just with Final Fantasy alone, I mean, you'd be, holy shit.
You're way higher than 300 mil.
Yeah, you're almost like at a bill, if not billions.
Oh, I bet you're probably 3 to 4 billion.
You think it's more than Destiny?
I remember a while ago somebody went through and found a bunch of evaluations of basically what they should sell for, right? And if I remember correctly, Square was at like 7 billion, maybe. I could be wrong though. There's been a lot of numbers tossed around.
Than Bungie.
Which,
But then the other question is, right, is like, and so this is why I bring that up, because I remember if we go back when Bungie was purchased, everyone on Twitter was like, oh my gosh, this is so expensive for, or so much more than what it's worth or whatever, because, the ability of a TV show and stuff like that. Obviously, the IP is pretty strong, and it's got a good team behind it. But the thing is it solves a problem for Sony.
mm-hmm.
Versus like the Square stuff, I constantly toy with that in my head, because although that is what makes the most fucking sense out of any of it, at the same time, they don't have a problem with that.
Right. Yeah, no.
But if Xbox
fair.
bought them up, would they have a fucking problem? I don't know, because there's not enough consoles in Japan, Xbox wise, that people give a shit.
There's not much consoles, period, in Japan. Even
Correct.
PlayStation didn't sell all that much in Japan.
Which I guess you put in Game Pass and you put other stuff there that's cool, but I don't know. I just, like you said too, there's also the element where Japanese companies really, not that they dislike Western companies, but they don't typically sell to Western companies. I mean, it's not, if anything, they're buying Western companies, and then holding them in Japan. It'd be interesting to see what happens.
Just as a quick reference for some things. So, like, what we have coming from Square Enix here soon. So, Kingdom Hearts 4 was just announced. Final Fantasy 16.
Big deal.
The Dialfield Chronicle. Mm-hmm. Valkyrie Elysium.
Big deal.
Yeah, which that's a return from an old JRPG. Star Ocean, The Divine Force.
Very big deal.
Forspoken, which was being made by Luminous Productions.
Which, how the fuck is that going to work?
Well,
they just bought Luminous Productions, so does that mean that goes to them?
They keep Luminous. Luminous is staying.
They kept Luminous? Okay.
Yeah. Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, Team Ninja.
Yeah.
Babylon's Fall, which was Platinum, which Platinum is not owned by Square, I don't believe. I think they just published under. Yeah.
They just published.
Square just published it.
Yeah.
Which that one fucking shit the bed. Final Fantasy 6 Pixel Remaster. Let's see. Scroll up here. Neo. They have Neo. The World Ends with You. Legend of Mana, which is another one.
Deal, yep.
Saga Frontier. Balin Wonderworld. Bravely Default. I mean, like I said, they're pretty much all JRPGs. Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, some of the other odds and ends, Trial Mana. You've got the Saga Frontier.
Yeah.
They're all JRPGs, and I think that's not a terrible thing. Focus in on what you do best and really stick with it. Granted, this list I found is not complete because it doesn't have Outriders in here. It doesn't have some of the other things that were they were technically Square Studios that made it, but they are. Oh, Monster Energy Supercross was Milestone before they were bought up by Koch Media.
Oh my god.
Interesting. So yeah, regardless, it is what it is. I mean, Crystal Dynamics has kind of changed hands a few times, and I think this isn't really anything too surprising. I am not surprised at all that Square Enix wants to focus back in on what they do and really more not seclude, but bring most of their business back to Eastern companies and do it like they have been doing it for years and years.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm sure there'll be lots of more acquisitions over the next.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure we'll hear some shit in the next coming weeks. Summer Games Fest and the Xbox show. I'm sure we'll hear some crazy shit, as well as Sony's yet to announce when they're going to do something. And last year they did something, at the beginning of June? Something like that?
It was either beginning of June or end of May, one of the two.
And then we still have to hear from Nintendo. So
Yeah, something from Nintendo, probably, hopefully by the end of this month, I would think. Maybe not, but yeah, I'm hoping for that Final Fantasy 16. I want it to be shown off during the Games Fest. I want to see it so bad. I'm so excited for that game.
yeah, maybe it will. Maybe we'll get shown off.
I hope so.
Well, guys, that'll do it for this episode of Diggity. Thank you so much for listening. If you've got questions for the show, we'll do them at the end of the show. But if you do have them, please send those. As a
just
DM
up on Twitter or Instagram,
at Diggity
wherever.
Podcast. I just figured we should start plugging that so people can ask a question, and then we can do it at the end of the show. If someone's a question, it can also be a question about gaming. It can be a question about, I mean, shit. We don't give a shit. Whatever. It's the end of the show.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Some of them we do end up storing away if they're a large topic, something that we'll actually save for a whole episode. But if it's a question that we can answer relatively quick or something, we'd love to do it. And so yeah, send those in.
Yeah, hit us up on Twitter at Diggity Podcast. You can also hit us up on Instagram at Diggity Podcast as well. Check out our YouTube channel, where we're a collective group of creators on a thing called Spawn Camp. You can find us on YouTube, where there's stuff like Bill Bros, like Gundam stuff. There's WASD and Beyond, which is like pop culture, as well as like PC gaming style stuff. And then there's us, which we're the best. I'll just say it. We're the best. I'll start an internal war. No, we're all great. But yeah, jump on over there. And if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, you can catch us live on YouTube and Twitch, actually, at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday. We should actually, yeah, I don't know. I might talk to you about like setting it back half hour less if we can and start at 9.
I'm down.
I don't know. I figure it's like that's a more common time, and it starts to get late for other people watching. But anyways, yeah. So thank you so much. If you're listening to the audio version of the podcast as well, please leave us a review. Whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, doesn't matter. It helps us out a ton when you do that. We are growing. We thank you for that so much. On the audio side of stuff, please come over to the YouTube side of stuff and check out some of the other stuff that's on the channel, though. And until next time, guys.